kit I bought, whatever, easy wiring. It was a 21 circuit Chevy Mopar Ford Universal Extra Long. So yeah, I bought it in 2018. So anyways, it comes with the fuse, 17 fuses, 1 breaker, pre-wire fuse, 2 signal flashers, 1 pre-wire connector with a horn relay, headlight plugs, GM alternator plug, GM column ignition, dimmer switch plug, GM, so it kind of comes GM-ish, a large grommet, terminals, and some loose wires. The nice thing is it gives you kind of like basic setup diagrams for each, like GM, Ford, and mounting the fuse, routing and attaching the wires. Here's the dash setup, and I'm using these. This is going into a, remember, this is going into a Mopar 57 Mopar, so things have changed a lot. So this is, I actually bought a GM headlight switch. I need to get this guy in. I have this guy installed, I just don't have the wires. I gotta route those. So they have these front sections with the headlight stuff, and then they have the GM diagram, points diagram. They show you the kind of different kind of sets of, like, here's the Mopar electric ignition, turn signal conversion, 70s, 80s, Ford diagram, with Ford electronic ignition, steering column conversion. They don't really show steering column conversion, but no big deal. So on your dash ignition switch, do's and don'ts. Don't scare you. Do install main ground from the battery to the frame. Yeah, from the engine to the frame, and then the engine to the body. Main ground cable should be the same size as the battery cables. Do remember to ground all accessories. Don't forget good clean ground. Yeah. Don't run over sharp wires. Don't stretch. Don't use grommets. Use the loom. Insulated terminals. Don't over crimp the terminals. Okay, whatever. Don't skip around. Start a section, finish it. Don't forget to do the worksheet. Discard these instructions. Don't discard. So anyways, there's a GM headlight diagram and some, like, here's your neutral safety switch. So I'll show a picture of what it looks like. It's just a generic fuse block. This is what I'll be installing. I've stripped nearly, actually, almost like 90% of all wiring has been stripped out of the car. Now this is, I've already got it in here. If you can see, things have been working here. I think the only original wiring I think I have is the wire coming out of the, like some of the small wires that come out of things. Like obviously the heater wire, the heater box wire, some other little wires that are still in the car. But that's what I'll be installing. So this is kind of aftermath so far. Kind of another annoying setback is I need to go get bolts. I need 2.5 inch shears. So of course I don't have any, and you gotta use hex head. You can't use a regular bolt. So I'm gonna go buy some hex head bolts. 2.5. Fun. Concerning spare wire, you can get these spare wire kits from Amazon, and I got them. But you're gonna need, I mean, you're gonna need all the way probably down to a couple, like some 10s, a couple of looms of 10. You know, obviously some 12s, 14s, 16s. I don't know about 18s. Always forget to turn this thing off. But you're gonna need some spare wires. I gotta look at this. I have a Stacy Gears diagram. Okay, concerning some of the gauge wires that you're gonna need. Now they're using 6 gauge. I'm actually using 2 gauge. This all matters on the distance to things. 6 gauge is probably, you know, for a classic car, 6 gauge is probably good for, if you're over, I think 7 feet, you want to go to 4 gauge. 5 is 2. It depends if you're using the high powered starter. Now I'm using this high powered starter, so it calls for 2 gauge of 5 foot and under, and then I think it goes down from there. I'll have to look at it. If you look on performance starters, they'll tell you what the gauge is. So need some 16 gauge, some 10 gauge, some 10, 18. I think they're over a little high, but that's fine. 12 gauge, 14. So this kind of gives you, there's some 18. So this kind of gives you an idea what spare kind of wiring you need. Stuff like this. Yeah, see, this is my 2 gauge. And of course you might need some zip ties. So the way to do this though is to if you have the ability to take the dash out of the car, make sure you can remove the dash out of the car. So what I'm going to do is I got it set up. I just put this in the car to really just to figure out the placement of where I'm going to put the fuse block. So, and that's really, that's fairly important for us. Part of the process is determining location of the fuse block. I want a different couple places, but that way you can take this back out, kind of start wiring the gauges and stuff, and then put this back in, and you're done. So it's not a bad idea. Okay, another thing is print yourself out 10 or whatever, a ton of these basic wiring harnesses, pages of the basic stuff. It's on my Mopar. And then print out any you can from the manual. Manual doesn't have full of them. This is some other one I have. And then this is, it says 58, 60, but you'll notice it has 58 here. So this is pretty similar. This actually, I think I have this. Get yourself some highlighters, and then this is my steering coupler, and then I need to find out these colors. So there's 6 wires, and then there's like a ground or something on the steering column. So I'm bringing this over to you. So basically, you can draw up circuits on these with the highlighter, and then kind of trace things out instead of trying to have to go back. Like I said, print yourself lots of copies of this stuff, especially this guy, because then you can trace through it. And my only objective really is to figure out to map these wires into however. I don't care about the rest of the harness. I just care about how to map. Like, oh, okay, I've got, I need to hit that brown and black. I won't be hitting that brown and black, but that's actually grounded. So that tells me everything I need to know. But anyways, so yourself a bunch of these grounds too. Well, get what you need. I just kind of went nuts and bought a bunch of kits of them, and I'll use them as needed. I've got thinner ones and stuff too, but I got some massive ones. These ones are smaller and thinner but longer than these guys. So I mean, I'm going to be plenty grounded. That's not a big deal. So working on that. And like I said, this is some of the spare wire I got lying around. This is some of the thicker stuff. But get yourself some of that. I still got this 1/8" aluminum too. So get some of that. Get some. Well, these are actually stainless. So those are heater hose clamps. But okay, to make your own battery wires, you're going to need a big clamper like this. This was only like 20 bucks on, obviously made in China. Good tool though, out of China. You're going to need your 2-gauge wire, whatever gauge wire you need, and you need these ends. So make your own ends. You don't know what the size of what's going to be, so that's what I did. So you can buy this kind of at a kit with I think this was 2 10-foots with some ends. So, and then I bought this for 20 bucks, so I can always use this later. It's pretty nice. It goes down. You can change the sizes, so not a bad tool to have. I get one of these things too. These are just the rubber clamp box. This is like 20 bucks on eBay. You go to the hardware store, they want $1.50 for this alone. So you're getting 56. This was like what, $18. So just get one of these and be done with it, because I also use it for routing hoses and like hot water hose or heater hoses and stuff too. So pretty good for that. Get one of these, definitely. Do wiring. So this is the standard stuff. This is a 3/16, just wrap on. So I picked up some 14s, 16s, 16, 18, and 14 random spare wire rolls. Just different sizes, different colors. And this is like miscellaneous. So I'm still waiting on one more. And I have some other little stuff. I have some just stuff I grabbed from Home Depot. 16 to 19, I don't know if it's just a random. Oh, that's not good. Anyways, I had some spare. I was checking out different relays. This is what, a 5? Yeah, this is a 5. Doesn't matter. This stuff I really like. It's this cloth tape, cloth electrical tape, soft. And I have the other stuff too, a bigger heavier or softer stuff too. Now this stuff, I don't know if I like these things. I think I'm gonna go not do this kind of garbage with this melt one. I don't know. So that's an if. Just got here's another. This is a remote terminal with, and I need the plug. I got some more of those though. So that's really it for that. Now I also got some terminal room. These are all probably from Made in China, right? Yeah, Made in China. This is a 1/2 inch. I may need bigger than, I don't know if I need much bigger than 1/2 inch. And I got some 1/4 inch. So that's for covering the looms. You're gonna need that stuff. This is just random pre-cut ones, cheap. But show you some of this stuff here in a minute. So I got some, well, it says online LED stores, but this is your outdoor terminal, the outdoor relay. So I need one of these for the fuel pump, but you need 30 amp. I'm not sure. Oh, I don't need 30 amp. This is 30 amp, but I don't need it. But it is waterproof, so I need some of these for the fan, and then some of these for the fuel pump. You don't really need this fuel pumps. I have these tiny little fuel pumps. I don't have these in-tank massive, you know. Now this is really what we need. These guys here. Now, these are heat shrink terminal ends. So I get these guys, heat shrink them, and then double them up with this if you want. A lot of people just use this, but I'll probably do both. So what else? Oh, I got some regular indoor relays if I need them. I don't even know if I might need these or not. I think they're just regular. Yeah, they're just regular. I'm not sure if they're 5 or 4. They're all 5. I think they mean 5 now. I don't make 4s anymore. Doesn't matter. What else? Oh, LED turn signal flashers. So these are low 12-volt electric. You'll see the reason you can tell these guys is typically because they're clear. Come on. So you'll notice them because mine came with the silver ones, but you'll notice the LED ones. Input leads must be fused. There you go. So these are the low volt LED ones. So your LED won't work. Your LED turn signals won't work. So I got 2 of those. This is more loom. I got some 1/8 inch loom just in case. And another flasher's in here. And I throw all my directions. This is my Protronics flamethrower coil instructions. Throw the instructions in there. Here's my original. I'm going to go with this guy here. So not too good. I have another cover for it, but I'm going to go with this guy. I just need to get it keyed. But I'm going to go that one. And here's a potential. I was looking for this for a daytime running light or a turn signal. I'll show you my headlights here in a minute. Oh, and grommets too. I have a bunch of grommets. Grommet kit. Get the grommet kit off on eBay too. Oh, stop light switch, stop brake light switch, adjustable. Not a bad idea. These things are amazing. Going back to, okay, I'm gonna go get my headlights and show. I gotta check my headlights. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Now I'll show you the rest. So just a boatload of shit. A box of garbage. Not all this is going to here, of course. Just a few things. This is a spare. This is an alternative style brake switch. I don't know if I'm going to need it. So if I can't get that one to fit on well, I'll use it. This is a 90 millimeter. No, this is not going. Don't get me wrong. I'm going with the 1958 tail lights. So these are 90 millimeter cheapo, you know, Amazon Chinese LED lights. I think they're probably from China too, but anyways, I don't know if I should check to see if they fit here. I don't believe they will. 57s are different tail lights, so, and I don't know, I have a good set of 58s. I really like the 58s Castle, so I'll probably go with those instead. So anyways, those are the ones to get some 90 millimeters. They come with it. You can buy the expensive Japanese ones or the cheap Chinese ones. I'll probably just buy a couple extra sets to see how they do. See if they match up perfect. They don't rattle at all. So You see that perfect. I'll just, like, I was thinking about putting some things here and then just hot gluing them in or something, but they really won't, they won't rattle or nothing. There's no movement, but perfect. Somehow I got lucky ordering something. Garbage, don't need that. Those are clips. Those. So that's all really in this one. Oh, I have at least, I'm probably gonna send that guy back, but alright, that's from other cars. This is the, you can't even tell what name it is. Just made in China. Ever bright. Let's see if they hold up for more than a week. So, to be able to remove them quickly. So I will buy, if it lasts more than a week, I'll buy a couple more backup sets just in case. The light looks like it's real bright on the first fire up. Like obviously the camera has to adjust, so it'll blind it pretty much. So that's what it looks like. Really good daytime running lights. Obviously my camera can't handle it. So yeah, it's probably blinding you, but here's the original. You notice it's nice and flat. It's got almost the same concave as this one. Actually, I swear it's probably out of the same Chinese factory mold. So yeah, I will be busting this glass out just to get this halo, and I think it's going to fit. So there you go. I'm going to use this base. I might have to order another. I'll just maybe see if they'll sell me a single one. I don't know. They'll probably come in a box from China with both of them together. But bust the glass out of this one, and then get some glass off the $20 one, and put your own halo rings in here. So there you go. It looks like it's gonna fit, because like I said, it's the same pattern too. It's the same. It's got a slight slope to it, and this has a slight slope to it. So I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I do have one of these quick disconnects. It says off, on. These are kind of dangerous. If they get loose, obviously you're driving down the road and you can lose your alternator, your battery. That's off, as long as you make sure they're cranked down. Obviously your friends can mess with you too. So I made this ground cable. I made a positive cable here. You're not going to be able to take this one off quickly, but this is like a quick disconnect. I don't even know if these are even legal in like racing or whatever, but they have some that are unscrew them and pull them off, but this one you just turn the knob and it's off. So anyways, negative, positive, simple deal, right? I'm probably going to take the sticker off the side of that puppy. But so this guy is going to go negative here. I'm going to wrap it around. Now I got the battery tie down. This is the original battery tie down. Welded up to fit this smaller battery. I was having problems here, so it's going to be kind of, I may move a little bit, but it'll move around a little bit. I got to get a rubber pad on this thing. But this ground is going to go from here, probably right here. I'll just run the ground here, across here, behind this cable, behind that thing or something. Direct shot, positive direct shot to the starter solenoid, and so you're also going to need an ignition switch. Now this is a non-push button start ignition switch. If you have a push button car, you won't see this connected here. So now this is an original ignition switch key, so which is nice. So, and I found one on eBay. They're not cheap. It was like 95 bucks, but came with the key lock, and you can buy the key locks alone for 20 bucks. So like I don't know if I showed you. You can grind those out. You can grind those out and take them out and get a new key lock if you don't have a key. So there you go. You need that too. By the way, get a stripper tool. Get one of these stripper tools. Very nice to have. This thing's worthless. I thought about this crimper but these are worthless. I can't get a good crimper. I have to use, I use like just a crush. I use a pair of pliers that it's got like a pinch, almost like a cutter, not a cutter, but something I can get a really good crush on. These guys, the little plug things. So like when I put the end on here, and I'm not soldering the ends. I'm using that crusher. I check them. I pull them good. So I make sure there's no play. I make sure everything's good. So Concerning materials, this is another thing you're going to need. This is a remote starter solenoid, and you're going to need this, right? So, and I'll show you why. Now you're going to notice that this is actually for a automatic transmission. A manual will not have this post right here. It'll be a single post. Now what happens is you put the positive side. This goes to the battery, and this goes from here to the starter solenoid. And these are usually thick wires, thick heavy wires. These are going to be this is going to be this 2-gauge stuff. I'm using 2-gauge, and it's that thick. So that guy's going to go, one of these, obviously the red side, that's going to go here and there, and then this goes to the starter solenoid. Now you're like, well, what goes here? Anyways, I'll tell you on that one real quick. You can look at the factory wiring, and you'll notice this guy right here. That's this doohickey right here. So, and you're going to say, wait a minute. So you're going to see the horn actually runs off of here to get power. The horn's connected to here also. Now, ground all except for a power flight. If you don't have a power flight, you don't ground it. So this guy goes to the neutral safety switch on the transmission. So this is the ground that makes the circuit that activates that guy, which is the ignition start. Now that's an ignition start wire, and I actually have that built in. It's this purple wire here. That's ignition start coming from the thing. So you mount it on the body, you get it ground, you get it grounded. Gotta remember that. So this outside body here is what grounds it. So this is all contact inside. It's not like you're not grounding off of something here, you're grounding off of this puppy right here. And you can see it says 12 volt. I don't know if it's probably made in China. I don't know. This is, the newer ones are obviously higher amp capable. I don't know how many amps the old ones took, but you know, I figured I'd get a nice new, this is a really nice high-end one. It was like 20 bucks, but so there you go. So you need one of these also. Okay, let's talk starter solenoid. So here's a starter solenoid. I've got it mounted on the wall here, on the firewall. On the they're typically going to be found right here. I got some extra plugs I got to put in there, some little wiring holders. There is this. There is the coil. That's a Pertronics, whatever HC, whatever fire igniter, whatever coil. So let's talk. Now this is. I bought a modern, higher power, higher amperage one. This is probably an old one, but I'm not sure of the capacity. I think they handle a fair amount. Obviously they can handle starters. Anyways, on Mopars and Fords, you're going to typically see a remote solenoid, starter solenoid. And that may be, or the starter may actually have a starter, so it has a solenoid on it. So mine actually has a solenoid on it. So you're like, why are you using this? Well, typically they jumper them. Now you're going to see two connectors down here. You can see there's two connectors down here there's a battery, a BAT, and an IGN on the starter. Now this is a high Power Master XS, whatever, small, lightweight, high power starter. So you're like, well, wait a minute, you got to do ignition to ignition, and that would get rid of my safety, my neutral safety switch. So if I ignored this, like obviously this wouldn't trigger. So I could put the new safety ignition switch here, but then I got to get an ignition switch to the starter. So they just suggest run this straight. Well, what happens is you put hot here, and then hot comes out, right? And then it goes to the starter, right? The hot starter batteries, BAT, right? So you're putting this big. It's got to be a heavy cable too. It's got to be the 2-gauge or 4-gauge. 2-gauge works up to 5 feet. 3 feet. 3 feet you can go with 4. If you're going over 5, you need 2. So 5 to 7 or something is 2. So I'm using 2-gauge. You can see it's pretty heavy duty wire. So even the factory cars had pretty heavy duty wire. So you put the hot, and the hot comes out here, but this is the trigger. Now if you see 2 of them, you know it's an automatic transmission, because this is your neutral safety switch coming in here. This is your ignition. So it might be reversed. This says I and S. I don't know. So these are typically going to be mounted in the car. So that's why when they're selling Power Masters, instructions are like, just jumper it. You got to jumper it with at least a 10-gauge wire. I think no, at least a 12-gauge wire. But I'm going to put a 10-gauge wire from the jumper. Just so you need like a little 1-inch jumper to jumper the starter if you got a Mopar and a Ford, I believe, with these remotes. If you have one of these remote solenoids, the starter solenoids in there, just do it as a normal like GM. So that's starter solenoids. So I was looking at buying a whole starter solenoid relay, whatever, but I didn't do it. I went with this original one. It's kind of nice because this is kind of like a junction block too. You can get headlight hot here. Headlight hot came off of here also. Like I said, certain things, and you can say, okay, is this the ignition on? You can actually use this for your ignition wire. I can run this to my coil because this is ignition hot. When this guy, you know, everything on this side is actually protected by the neutral safety switch. So, but I can also put the the starting ignition circuit power to my oil pressure safety switch off of this versus on the coil. So I can do this. This is just a nice little mini junction outside, kind of like what they do with these headlights here, these headlight junctions here, if you can even see it through this mess. But that's that anyway. So that's starter solenoid, remote starter solenoid for Mopars and Fords. Another thing too is you like each wire you build, right? I gotta get this heat shrink, but each wire I build, if I'm not, I mean, I have to assume the harness is good, so I don't go through and check every wire on the harness. But if I'm building this wire, right, I just stuck this tab on here. And I know it's good because I crushed the living crap out of it. I don't use these like little clampers, and I actually pull on the things hard. Like I'm pulling on that hard, right? I double check. I actually use a full crimper, like a, not even a wire crimper. I almost use like a brake line crusher. So I crush this big time. So I know it's on there good, and I just double checked continuity. So I do that on every wire. If I'm making special weird custom wires, I will double check continuity. The last thing you want to do is try to start a car and go, wait, which wire is bad? This will save you so many headaches and nightmares, because you're like, this is on an HEI coil, one of the 10 wires, and you'd be like, well, which wire is it? Right now, obviously, you trace it. You know, you go, oh wait, we're not getting spark, and you start tracing it back. But this, you know, just gives you a little bit of extra sense of peace of mind to say, you know what, I know I put these wires together and they're good. So just an idea. Just takes you 10 seconds to check it probably. So you're better off. So also, if you didn't know, you look at these wires and you're like, why are they not copper? But these are, and I just burn it, actually I just melted. These are actually tinned copper wires. So these are actually some of the better wires to use. They don't corrode. Like I said, it's not, I don't have a problem. You know, this car's not gonna get corrosion, but actually I was reading up on tinned copper wires and how they make, they're kind of like best for in between. Because I was looking at them going, why are these silver? I'm like, are these freaking aluminum wires they sold me? But they're not. They're actually tinned copper, so they're supposed to be better than copper. I think I burnt that one a little bit much, but I might have burned the tin off. And also, it's easier to solder on these too. So these are some potential daytime running lights. So what's going to happen is this guy's going to sit here, right? And then now, since I have a 57 front bumper that goes, you know, across here, I was thinking about doing something like this, putting the daytime running light. Now, I was going to have maybe, like I said, maybe the big circle about the kind of like the Charger has, but I'm thinking about doing this kind of deal with this daytime running light. I think I have the room on this car because I have, like, there's a gap. There'll probably be about a gap right here, so I thought it'd be cool to fill this with a daytime running light. I don't know, we'll see. These things are pretty cool. I'll show you what they look like. Let me show you the turn signal. The way this thing does turn signal, it's pretty cool. Can I get it here? There's a turn signal. That's pretty darn cool. That's turn signal. And then here's the daytime running light. Now these both light up, so it's got a little controller, which is kind of cool. Come on. hello. Fucking stupid shit. I need a camera, sorry. Wait for it. Oh, come on. Okay, whoa. There's your daytime running lights. So, very cool. I might use them if I got the room in between and I decide not to go with the halos. I like the halos, though. We'll see. I'm not going to go with, maybe I go with the yellow halo daytime running light constant and then go with these guys. I don't know, we'll see. The 120 millimeter is pretty close to a 5.75 headlight. I could somehow get that balanced in there. Now this has 3 wires on it, and this is what it looks like. It's pretty bright too, but I think this is, I'll try the yellow first. That's funny. Of course I'm having to, that's the weight. Thing is this is going to be my washer bottle. I'm going to put spray Jiffy Jet on it and eventually I'll stencil it. Got a powered motor here, so I'll be using that with a switch for a powered windshield washer nozzle. That's out of, like, I think I found it at a Cadillac, so it's like $7, so hopefully it'll work. Here's some of the dash pieces I painted last year, and those are all Imperial pieces, and these are all 58 Plymouth parts. And so the objective today is to get the dash in the car. I got some random crap. These are not good shit. Those are not good. I'm not using those. I could have them re-chromed. I think I have better ones. Anyways, the objective is to get this puppy in the car and test this fit where the fuse block is going to fit. Okay, so I stuck this in lacquer thinner all night last night, and it actually has gained some flexibility again. So I can actually reuse this piece now a little bit. It moves a little bit now. This was hard as a rock. Kind of ate that stuff up. It's like fuzz in the back, but I can actually move it now. So it's still a little hard, but it's actually, so it's got a little bit of flexibility back in it versus being literally a rock hard piece. I didn't think I could get it in. I was like this is, yeah, this stuff's actually moving now. The outer area is moving now. That might be cracked. No, that's that ridge right there. It's a casting line. Let's see, this is actually moving now. Or this was literally hard as a rock. So I probably need to do it for here. Do a 1/4 inch and do it on the back because this is what has to slip in. So I'll probably put it in again for another night. So, but it worked. So there you go. Get yourself a lacquer thinner and soak it overnight. And your rock hard grommets will become usable again. So there you go. I'll leave this one for overnight again. See what happens.